Welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. We got our new ride-on mower, which is really exciting. After not being sure when it was going to arrive when I spoke to you last week, we got a text message confirmation that the courier was going to be delivering the next day. So they gave us a window and we were able to get it delivered. For those that are interested, it is a Rover Bigger, Stronger Raider that we bought from Costco. The only problem was that we had to get it delivered to a metro address, which ours is not, even though for all of lockdown, we, of course, were metro. So we got it delivered to my parents' place and we made sure that we were down there with a trailer to get it loaded directly onto the trailer so that we could then bring it home. It was packaged in a crate, so it was easy to then slide it off the trailer when we got home, finish the assembly, put petrol in it, and it was ready to go. And it's already had quite a workout. We have done the driveway, the backyard, around in front of the chook shed, in the chook yard, and here behind the shed as well. And it is a really nice cut. It is cutting much finer than the previous one. It's amazing what fresh, sharp blades can do. And it just goes along really nicely and was really easy to get going. So that is really exciting. That means that we're going to be able to keep the grass down here, which will prevent some fire risk and also help us to be clear to be able to see any snakes. And it just makes everything look so much neater and tidier and easier to maintain when you have a ride-on mower that is just like jump on and go and really simple to use and not needing constant maintenance and having lots of issues. So it's nice to be able to have that and to be able to keep everything looking really nice. This week I picked our garlic. I had a look at the leaves and they were turning yellow and sort of drooping down, and I had read that that was the time that you should be picking it. It's not terribly large, so perhaps I picked it a little early, but it smells fantastic and it came out of the ground just fine. So we'll see how this batch goes. I left it sitting out in the sun for a day to dry out, and then I brought it inside and I platted it up, and it is now hanging here in the shed. I hope that I've done it right and that it will cure properly and that we will have some lovely garlic cloves for the next few months once it's dried out. I'd also like to keep one of them and use that to replant, perhaps get some more and try to sort of develop the garlic game a little bit, because we do use a lot of it. So it would be good to have enough to be able to get a crop going and then be able to use it year round. Next week, I am teaching 2 sock knitting classes at Unwind Craft Cafe, which I'm really excited about. They are sold out, but there is hope that next year we can plan some more. So if you're interested and you're in Melbourne, keep an eye out on the Unwind website. They'll be putting up any other classes up there. They also have some knitting and crochet support and some amigurumi classes as well. So there might be something that you're interested in checking out. So yeah, I'm really excited to be teaching this class. It's going to be the way that I knit my socks, which I've shown here just sort of in very brief summary, and some tips and tricks on how to make things a little bit easier. So I've been preparing my handout, making sure that it all makes sense. I have been knitting some samples. I have been winding down some DK yarn, which we'll be using in the class to make our mini sock for the day. And I've also been doing some dyeing of some more sock yarn, in particular some contrasting colours, just to add to my current sock repertoire of colours to sort of do the whole contrasting heels, toes and cuffs. So I'll be bringing these along to Unwind to sell on the day, wound down, ready to knit. along with a selection of my regular repeatable colorways as well. So first I'll show you the full skeins of sock yarn that I've dyed up just this week. I'll also be adding from my stash that I have up on my online shop, so I'll be taking some of that down to take in to share with the folks there. I dyed up some millions of tiny pieces. It was a special request from someone who's in the class. It will be balled up and ready to knit on the day. So that's millions of tiny pieces. I also played around and dyed up a new color. I didn't keep the recipe, but I can probably figure it out because it was based on a Christmas recipe from a few years ago, and I just modified the colors a little bit. So this has got pinks and creams and yellows and a little bit of green. That was just a bit of fun, just to do something a little bit different. And then mostly, as I said, I've been working on contrasting colors, solid colors, to go with the multicolored sock yarn that I have available. So I did a one-of-a-kind blue, which has also got some purple and some browns through it. This was just using all of the bits of dye that I had in the pot from doing these two colors. So I'll be breaking this down into 20-gram skeins and putting it into balls. I also did this green teal color, which I really love. It's hard to tell if it's coming up 100% accurate on the screen. I'm trying to figure out where that's probably a bit more true there. It's a really lovely color, and I think it will go well with a lot of other yarns. And I did a pink, which is tonal but solid, and a grey, and this is another one-of-a-kind bright blue that I've done, a sort of a peachy colour, and then a lighter pink as well. So all of these will be in 20-gram skeins to go with the larger 100-gram sock skeins. I haven't named any of these colours yet. I'm going to see how they go. It's hard to name just a solid colour. Normally I dye based on an inspiration for something. So to just go, oh, this is pink or teal or whatever. So most of these do have recipes, so I will probably add them to the shop after the session at Unwind as 20-gram mini skeins to add to sock knitting. And depending on how these go, I may end up investigating actually buying 20-gram mini skeins to dye up rather than breaking down the bigger skeins. As I've explained before, when I dye my regular repeatable colorways to become mini skeins, I do it as a big skein and then break it down so that the color is 100% the same in the mini versus the large, because of the way that I twist and dye and put knots and stuff in it. If you do it on a smaller scale, the colors come out in a different way. So I tend to use the 100-gram skeins and break it down. But with a solid color, that's no longer an issue. So if I decide that I'm going to continue to stock these solid colors and want to do them as minis, I will probably end up investing in a 20-gram sock base, like broken down that way already from the supplier, so that it cuts out a little bit of my work. Not a ton to share craft-wise this week. I did finish the pair of socks that I was working on, which were the K Facet Regia yarn that I was doing one at a time. I haven't woven in the ends, but as you can see, I have two completed socks, and I was able to use pretty much all of the yarn except for this little bit here. That's good. That's a skein of yarn out of my stash and a brand new pair of socks. So I've cast on another pair. This time I'm doing them two at a time, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, I wanted an example for my sock knitting class so that I could show the two at a time on the needles and how they look. But also because when I found these balls, as you can see, there is quite a difference in size between the two balls of yarn. So if I knit them separately, I was potentially going to end up not having enough yarn for one of the socks. So what I thought I would do is I would knit two at a time until I run out of the smallest ball. Then I can switch to knitting one at a time and hopefully then use this bigger ball to finish the second sock. Um, Clearly I'm only going to get little shorty socks out of it, but again, it's nice to completely use up another ball of yarn and to get another pair of socks. And shorty socks are great in summer. I finished plying the little bits that I had left over from the kaleidoscope box. I had some solid colours that I'd pulled off the second bobbin because I'd obviously spun them a little bit thinner and more consistently on the second one than I did on the first one. So I put them into center pull balls and I just plied each of the colors one by one onto a fresh bobbin. I need to wind this into a skein so that I can wash it and then add it to the rest of the yarn. I think I said this last week. What I'm going to do when I knit the project is grab the solid color when it's the right spot in the yarn to add it back in where it should go. And I have wound off the two bobbins of all of the other yarn. It is really balanced. I'm so happy with this. It is soft. It's very consistent. And it's by far the best yarn I have spun so far. And I just love how the colours have turned out in this. It's just looking so nice. So this needs to be washed and hung to dry. And once I've got this off the bobbin, I will do all of it in one go, hang it to dry, and then it will be ready for a project that I haven't decided on yet. But I'm very excited that I created the yarn that I was hoping to create. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.